You might have heard this before about sharing your perspective, and you're wondering, how do I do that? Like, what if I give away too much information and no one, buys my services? If that's what you're thinking, then this video might be able to help you. My name is Huang. I'm an occupational therapist and certified hand therapist, and I help therapists develop their clinical skills and their business skills. And when I first started out in my business, um, I too was not sure about what perspective to share. Like, do I share what I do in the therapy clinic? Like, do I tell people what to do? And then, like, what if I just tell them what to do and then they do it and they don't come in and, buy my services? When I started Hand Therapy Secrets, or the idea of starting Hand Therapy Secrets, which was teaching other therapists all these, because like hand therapists are sort of known to like hold all their secrets and stuff like that. And me, I'm like, I want to share it because I feel like high tide raises all boats, and the more OTs that we could help, um, the more the OT profession and more OTs want to become CHTs, and that just helps us overall as a profession. But sharing your perspective can be a little bit challenging. It requires you to come from an abundant mindset. And I really didn't understand that when I first got started. So I wanted to share it with you just in case you were wondering, like, but Huang, how do I really do that? Because what if I share everything and then there's nothing left for me? And I just want to share with you my perspective and 5 things I wrote down. And I'm just going to read it to you really quickly. I feel like there's a piece of hair in my face, so sorry about that. So I'm just going to share, and then I'll dive in a little bit because when I first heard it, I was just like, there is no way. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. Share it and they'll still come in and buy from you. I was like, I don't, how does that even make sense? But it is more imperative now than ever before to really share your perspective and share what you're doing and give from a place of, I think from a place of abundance, that you have enough to share and that there's still even so much more. As much as I have shared, I feel like I still have so much more to share. So I want to share with you these 5 things to kind of help you to know how to do that, right? So number one, the most important thing is to think about someone else, right? I'm going to dive into a little details afterwards, but number one is to think about someone else besides yourself. Think about someone else besides yourself. Number two is to be really specific about that one thing that you want to share. Number three is the idea that you can't lose by being generous, right? You have to remind yourself you cannot lose by being generous. Number four takes the play off of that, which is you can't be generous unless you feel like you have enough. So give only what you're capable of giving without it being an expense to yourself. I'm going to dive into that a little bit more. And then number five, is really so much about that abundant mindset, which is that I remind myself all the time as well, and I'm going to share with you. There's always someone for every price and a price for everyone, right? That comes from Denise Duffield Thomas. She does this money mindset boot camp, and I got that phrase from her or something like. I'm sure she got it from other people too, but there's always someone for every price and a price for everyone. So keep that in mind. I look at other people's businesses to remind myself of that too. All right. So since I just shared that with you, let's go to number one. Think of someone else besides you. And that requires you to think about your person that you are specifically speaking to. So in my clinic, so I have a therapy clinic in Miami, Florida, and I help people with hand and arm injuries, right? So if I'm making a video and sharing my perspective, I'm going to share with them. Let's say I just did some videos on neck exercises. Okay, so I'm gonna give you an example. I am thinking about the person who comes to me with neck issues that have hand problems. So a lot of times as a OT and CHT, people come to us for like hand numbness or hand pain or that kind of stuff. And a lot of times those hand things come from the neck. So I have to think about someone else besides me. I'm not thinking of myself and like, oh, I need patience, right? I'm thinking if I help someone do this one thing, then maybe that will help them and they won't need me, or maybe that will help them and they might need me for something else, right? Maybe they might watch more of my videos that then will help them uh, live better lives because now they don't have the numbness. Maybe they can avoid having surgery because of that, right? So I'm really trying to think about them and how to help them, because I think in the long run, when you help people, it comes back to you in spades, right? So I'm trying to think about that one person that I'm helping with a neck issue, because I have so many of those patients. I can name them. I'm like, okay, that person. So Donna really needed my help. Like, I wish I had those videos for her when her and I were talking, because I spoke to her and it took her 8 months before she came in for therapy treatment. But I wish I had those videos so that she can have, at least have started out and not have been so worried, for so long. So think of someone else. Be specific about that one thing. So again, if I'm thinking about Donna, right? She came in, she was already with tons of hand issues, and they were already telling her she had to have neck surgery, and she was petrified of neck surgery. She didn't want it. And in looking at her neck and how her arms moved and how she was positioned and things like that, I got real specific when I was creating those videos. I created 4 videos all on cervical stuff. And I thought about, like, if I could have just gotten her to know what was possible, maybe she could have gotten some relief or at least come in sooner versus sitting there. I mean, she literally had her scheduled date for surgery, and then at the last minute, she canceled and booked an appointment. But she suffered for a good 8 months before she did that. And so I want to be real specific on that one thing I was sharing. And so those 4 videos that I shared about, like, how I, from Huang's perspective, how I treat the cervical neck to alleviate hand issues. And a lot of those videos were specific not to someone in Donna's situation, but if I had met Donna 10 years ago, those videos would have been great for her, because if she saw those videos 10 years ago, she might not be in the position that she's in. Does that make sense? So I'm sharing my perspective on that one thing, and I'm thinking about her, but 10 years prior. And I want to be able to help someone like that. Sometimes when they're already coming in too late, there's unrealistic expectations. We were able to help her get rid of, like, a lot of the pins and needles and stuff like that, but she couldn't keep up with it. So you see what I mean by, like, she was so far into it that even though we helped her, we couldn't really fully help her. So I was sharing my perspective, thinking about her, but a younger self of her, because I think that there's so many people like her at a younger version who I feel like we could help. So when you're sharing your perspective, if you can think about that one person, and you can have multiple people, but it's kind of the same person. Like, my clinic serves people 40 years and older with hand and arm issues, right? So if that's what we do, and we're trying to get rid of their chronic issues and stuff like that, then I want to think about that one person. And when I'm talking about something real specific about that one thing, I will think about that one person that has this injury, or I would think about this one person who has wrist pain that is just kind of came on insidiously. So for example, I'm about to teach a manual therapy course, and I put out that I was looking for volunteers. So a Facebook friend raised her hand and was like, hey, I actually have wrist pain, and I didn't fall, I didn't break, it's not post-surgical, but can you still help me? And I was like, yeah, of course, come in and volunteer. I gave her 2 times. But when I make a video, I'm going to think about her. I'm going to think about the mom who is now with a toddler, and she now suffers from chronic wrist pain, and she doesn't know why, right? She knows maybe it has something to do with the fact that she carries her baby on that side all the time, but she doesn't know why, because her baby's only going to get heavier. But she's like, but I didn't hit it. So I'm going to make some videos very specific for someone like that, because I want to help them. I want to help them understand and know that occupational therapy, certified hand therapists can help someone like her, right? So think about someone else besides yourself. It really does create a more abundant mindset. And then when you're sharing your perspective, be really specific. Be really specific with the one thing. I have a lot of trouble doing this because I tend to share way too much all at one time because I have a lot of shit to say. Anyway, number three was you can't lose by being generous, right? Again, you cannot lose by being generous. And that is an abundant mindset for you to share, which then comes to number four, which share, give what you can. So I always describe it as my cup runneth over, and that's what I'm sharing, right? So my cup is always full. So part of that is like you can't have an abundant mindset if you're not taking care of yourself. So you share what you can. So when I first started, I couldn't share that much because I was doing so many different other things that it was really hard for me to share. But I shared what I could. So what I did to get more comfortable in that mindset and in the abundance of sharing was I went for 30 days straight, 30 weekdays. Sorry, y'all people sometimes be like including weekends. But every day that the clinic was open, I went live and I shared something. And I did that for 30 days straight. Now, they say that it takes 21 days to build a habit, and it takes X number of time before you feel like you are really good. But I don't know why I picked 30 days, but I picked 30 days, and it was just like, let me share every single day that I'm in the clinic. I'm going to turn the camera on and share. And that was all I could do at that moment in time. There was nothing fancy about it. I went on live on Facebook at the time, nothing fancy. And I just shared what I could at that time. I wasn't even specific. I wasn't even thinking about anyone else. But I remember you can't lose by being generous. So I just shared what I could. It was probably shit shares, but it was what it was. That was all I could give at that time because that was all I knew. And then as I continued to share and share and share, I got better and better at it. So now I can share more. But if you don't have enough to share, like in terms of a time perspective, then you don't want to do it at your expense. Like, so for example, right now we do 2 videos a week on hand therapy secrets and 1 video a week on hands-on therapy services YouTube channel. That is all I can give right now, right? That is all I can give right now. At some point, we're going to be in a capacity to share more, right? But right now, if I shared too much, it would be at my expense because I don't have the time. My staff don't have the time. So yes, you can't lose by being generous, but you also can't be generous unless you have enough, right? And so you want to share based on what you're capable of at the moment in time, that whatever you're capable of sharing, share that, right? But don't put yourself at risk to feeling bitter or burnt out because you're sharing too much and not doing things that fill your cup, right? So that's number 4. And then remind yourself that there's always someone for every price and a price for everyone. And I look at other people's businesses to remind myself of that same thing. And I use it to remind my staff too, because um, you you cannot have Walmart prices at Lord and Taylor services, right? Or products, right? So your things have to match. If your price point is low, then your services, match that price point. For example, if you go to a Motel 8 hotel, you know what you're expecting. You're expecting a very average, below average hotel, right? But when you go to a hotel like that, you understand the price you're paying for the product that you're paying for. When you go to a Ritz-Carlton, all right, you know that is the ultimate of luxury, and you will pay that. And I'm saying that because there is a price for everybody at all those points. And I remind myself of that all the time when I'm sharing my perspective, when I want to make sure I put myself into that abundant mindset, because I'll share what I can, and then when they are ready, and when they are able to, they will maybe inquire and ask about my services, right? Because I feel like there's a price point for everybody. And I look at that, you can look at that all around. I use hotels just because it's an easy analogy to think about, but you can also think about purses, right? Luxury brands right now are making a killing in the market right now. They're making a killing because there's a lot of people who want the luxury product and they're willing to pay the luxury prices for it, the premium prices for it. And there's a lot of people who, like the cheaper quality things because they're trendy and they can get it really cheap. And there's someone for everyone. And that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You can still share your perspective, and you just have to know and trust the process that when you share, uh, that the people that you attract for your businesses and for your services will come because of your perspective, right? They will come because of your ability to communicate and share and be generous with them. And then um, they might find you useful and they might buy your product, they might buy your services, right? So, as an occupational therapist, I think that that's really, really important to keep in mind and to look at, because I think in the healthcare realm, we tend to think that everything is free, everything is insurance based, because that's what we've been taught and that's all we've seen all the time. But I can tell you right now, that I've seen, like when I worked at Mount Sinai, they had luxury rooms. I mean, the one floor was all luxury rooms, and if you had the money, you paid for those luxury rooms, and you paid for private care, and uh, you paid for luxury basically. And I think that even in healthcare, we have to have that understanding that healthcare is a business, and that there is a price point for every person. And I think that that helps you. It helps me continue to share my perspective, because I know that there's someone for me, like that someone is attracted to my teaching style, to my personality, to the way I share my perspective, to the things that I've done. And those people will be attracted to me and then want to work with me somehow, some way, right? Because there's always someone for everyone, and there's always more of it. So if you keep that type of mindset, and it's work to keep that mindset. It's not like, oh, it just came to me naturally. Like, I had to work at it and I had to prove it to myself. And I do believe that there's people who want to work with me because of my style, of my perspective, and because I'm generous about it, and I think it does come back to me. So I think that hopefully this can help shape your mindset as you look to grow your business and you look to build the kind of business and lifestyle that you're looking to do, as an occupational therapist. So I hope this video helps you, to know the how of it. And if you like videos like this, hit the like button and the subscribe button. And in the link below, you can join my email list where I share even more tips about what I'm doing in my business, in the OT Business Corner. So hopefully I'll see you there. And until next time, peace out. Hey therapy friends, it's Huang here. Thanks again for watching my video. And if you like videos like this that can help you just crush it in the hand therapy world as an occupational therapist, then hit the subscribe button and enjoy the video. Thanks again for watching.